At our family dinner, my mother looked me in the eye and said, "Nobody needs your money or you." My sister agreed. My father said nothing. I smiled, and in that moment I decided to give them exactly what they claimed they wanted. A life without me. The dinner invitation came on a Tuesday. My mother's handwriting on expensive cardstock. The kind I bought her last Christmas because she mentioned liking it. Family dinner. 6 p.m. Saturday. Don't be late. I arrived early like always, carrying grocery bags like always. Nobody asked me to bring food. They just expected it. The same way they expected the mortgage payment that hit their account every first of the month. The same way they expected me to exist in the margins of their lives, useful, invisible, unappreciated. My sister Jennifer was already there, showing off her new designer purse, the one she'd bought with the loan I'd given her 8 months ago, the one she'd never mentioned repaying. "Susan." My mother's voice was warm, the way it only got when she needed something. "We're so glad you could make it." I set the bags on the counter, started unpacking, preparing the meal I hadn't been asked to make but would be expected to serve. Dinner was painfully normal. Small talk, laughter at inside jokes I wasn't part of. My father mentioned the roof needed repairs. Jennifer complained about wanting a new car. My mother sighed about property taxes. Each sentence was a hand reaching into my wallet. Then my mother set down her wine glass, looked directly at me. "Susan, we need to talk about something." My stomach tightened. Jennifer and I were discussing it, and, "Well, we feel like you've been too involved in our finances." The room went still. Too involved. My voice was steady, calm. "Yes." Jennifer leaned forward. "It's like you're trying to control everyone with money. It's honestly kind of pathetic." My mother nodded. "We want you to know nobody needs your money or you. We're fine on our own. We don't need you hovering trying to buy affection." My father said nothing, just stared at his plate. The silence stretched. Then I smiled. Not a sad smile. Not a bitter one. A calm smile. "Okay," I said softly. My mother blinked, surprised. "Okay." "Yes. Okay." I stood up, smoothed my napkin. "If nobody needs me, then I won't impose anymore." I grabbed my purse. "Susan, don't be dramatic," Jennifer started. "I'm not being dramatic. I'm being respectful." I looked at each of them. "You've made yourselves very clear. Enjoy your dinner." I walked out, got in my car, drove home in perfect silence, and opened my laptop. 30 years of bank statements stared back at me. 30 years of loans never repaid. 30 years of a mortgage I'd been paying on a house I didn't live in. My fingers moved across the keyboard. One by one I canceled everything. The automatic mortgage payment. Done. The supplemental insurance. Canceled. The joint credit card Jennifer used. Closed. My phone started ringing before I'd even finished. I turned it off, poured myself wine, and smiled again. They said nobody needed me. Tomorrow they'd find out what nobody actually meant. 3 days later my mother called. Her voice was ice. The mortgage payment bounced. "What did you do?" I sipped my coffee. "I gave you what you asked for. Independence." "Susan, this isn't funny." "I'm not laughing." Silence. Then her voice dropped to something dangerous. "If you don't fix this, you'll regret it. Goodbye, Mom." I hung up. My phone exploded with texts. "Jennifer. WTF is wrong with you? Dad. Call your mother back now. Mom. You're making a huge mistake." I blocked them all. Then my phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered. "Susan Patterson?" "Yes. This is Detective Morrison with the Fraud Division. We need to ask you some questions about financial irregularities involving your parents." My blood went cold. "What kind of irregularities?" "They filed a report claiming you've been stealing from them for years. We'd like you to come down to the station." The line went dead. I stared at my phone. They didn't just want me back. They wanted to destroy me. I thought I was free. I was wrong. What would you do? Should Susan fight back? Or let them burn? Drop fight or walk in the comments. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table staring at my phone. Detective Morrison's words played on a loop. "They filed a report claiming you've been stealing from them for years." Stealing. From them. The people whose mortgage I'd paid for a decade. The people whose car insurance, medical bills, and credit card debt I'd covered without question. The people who'd bled me dry and then called me pathetic for letting them. At 6 a.m. I called my bank. Asked for copies of every transaction I'd ever made to my parents' accounts. Every wire transfer. Every check. Every automatic payment. This might take a few days, the representative said. I need it today. By noon I had a PDF. 287 pages. 10 years of financial records. Itemized. Time-stamped. Documented. Total paid to parents' mortgage. $156,000. Emergency loans to parents. $42,000. Sister's wedding, $35,000. Medical bills covered. $28,000. Car repairs, insurance, property taxes. $19,000. Grand total. $280,000. $280,000 I'd given them. Money I'd earned working 2 jobs. Money I'd sacrificed vacations, relationships, and my own future for. And now they were claiming I stole from them. I called a lawyer. Rebecca Torres. She'd handled my friend's divorce. She was sharp, ruthless, and didn't take nonsense from anyone. Susan, she said after I explained everything, do you have any documentation? All of it. Written agreements? Loan contracts? I hesitated. No. They're family. I didn't think. That's the problem. Her voice was gentle but firm. Without contracts, they can claim these were loans. That you owed them. That you borrowed and never paid back. My chest tightened. But I have bank records showing I gave them money, which they can spin as repayment for money they claim they gave you first. Susan, without documentation proving these were gifts, this could get ugly. How ugly? If they're smart, they'll fabricate evidence. Fake IOUs. Texts they've edited. Witnesses, probably your sister, who'll testify you promised to pay them back. I couldn't breathe. What do? You fight. You document everything. And you prepare for war. Because they're not trying to get money back, they're trying to control you. And when control fails, people like this destroy. I thanked her. Hung up. Stared at the 287 pages. Then I saw it. Page 34. An email I'd forgotten about. From 3 years ago. My mother thanking me for the generous gift toward the mortgage. The word gift was right there. In writing. I kept digging. Found 12 more emails. Texts. Even a birthday card where my father wrote, "Thank you for everything you do for us. We don't deserve you." I didn't deserve them either. But now I had proof. Rebecca called back an hour later. I contacted the detective. Explained you're represented by counsel. He agreed to hold off on any formal questioning until we provide documentation. And then we bury them in evidence. We show that not only did you not steal, you've been funding their entire lives. We flip this. Make them the defendants. Can we do that? If they lie to police? Absolutely. Filing a false report is a crime. We can pursue charges for defamation, harassment, and if we're lucky, fraud. Something cold settled in my chest. Do it. Susan, are you sure? These are your parents. They stopped being my parents the moment they tried to put me in jail for helping them. I hung up. My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. Mom's crying. Dad's a mess. You broke them. Hope you're happy. I typed back one line. You said nobody needed me. I'm just making that true. Then I blocked her. My phone rang again. Unknown number. Again. I answered, ready for another detective. Instead, a woman's voice. Shaking. Unfamiliar. Is this Susan Patterson? Yes. Who is this? My name is Linda. I'm your father's sister. I froze. My father didn't have a sister. He told me his whole life he was an only child. I think you have the wrong. I know what your parents are doing to you. And I need to tell you something. Something about your father. About your family. Something they've been hiding for 30 years. My hand started shaking. What are you talking about? Not over the phone. Can you meet me? Tomorrow. Why should I trust you? Because I have documents. Proof of what they did. And once you see it, you'll understand why they're so desperate to keep you under control. The line went dead. I sat in the silence of my apartment, staring at the phone, the detective, the lawsuit threat, and now this. A secret, buried for 30 years. What the hell had I just walked into? I met Linda the next day at a coffee shop across town. She was in her 60s, nervous, kept glancing at the door like she expected someone to burst in. She slid a manila envelope across the table. Open it. Inside were documents, legal papers, old yellowed at the edges, a birth certificate, my birth certificate, but the names were wrong. Mother, Linda Patterson. Father, Robert Patterson. Not Margaret. Linda. My hands trembled. I don't understand. Margaret isn't your mother, Linda whispered. I am. The room spun. They took you from me when you were 3. Said I was unfit. Paid off a judge. Erased me from your life. Tears streamed down her face. And they've been making you pay for it ever since. Everything was a lie. I just found out my entire life was built on a lie. They stole me, then made me pay for existing. Come and expose them. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The birth certificate trembled in my hands. My name, Linda's name, not Margaret's. You're lying. My voice cracked. Linda reached across the table, tried to take my hand. I pulled back. Susan, I know this is. You're lying. This is fake. My parents wouldn't. Your parents have been lying to you for 30 years. Her voice broke. I was 19 when I had you. Young. Scared. Your father, Robert, he was my boyfriend. Then he met Margaret. She was older. Wealthy. Connected. And she couldn't have children. The coffee shop noise faded to white noise. Margaret wanted a baby. Robert wanted Margaret's money. So they made a deal. Linda's hand shook as she pulled out more papers. Court documents. Custody battles I'd never known existed. They claimed I was an addict. Unfit. Dangerous. None of it was true, but Margaret's family had lawyers. Judges on payroll. I was a teenager with no money and no proof. Why didn't you fight harder? The words came out cruel. Desperate. I did. Tears streamed down her face. For 2 years I fought. Then they threatened me. Said if I ever contacted you, they'd have me arrested for stalking. For kidnapping. They'd destroy me and make sure you believed I was a monster. I stared at the documents, the dates, at the signatures, at the truth I'd never been allowed to know. Why now? Why tell me this now? Linda's face hardened. Because I saw what they're doing to you. The lawsuit. The police report. I still have friends in town, they told me. And I realized. They're doing to you what they did to me. They're erasing you. Making you the villain so no one questions them. My phone buzzed. I ignored it. They've been making you pay your whole life, Linda continued. Every dollar you gave them? That was guilt. Manufactured obligation. They made you feel like you owed them for raising you. When they stole you from me, something inside me cracked. Not broke. Cracked open. 30 years of confusion suddenly made sense. Why I never felt like I belonged. Why nothing I did was ever enough. Why they could look me in the eye and call me worthless. Because to them I wasn't their daughter. I was their investment. Their retirement plan. Their purchase property. I have more, Linda said quietly. Financial records from back then. Proof they paid off the judge. Emails between Robert and Margaret planning the whole thing. If you want to fight them, really fight them, I can help you. I looked at this woman. This stranger who was my mother. Why would you help me now? Because I lost you once. I won't let them destroy you too. Her voice turned to steel. And because they need to pay for what they did. To both of us. I picked up the birth certificate. Folded it carefully. Put it in my purse. Tell me everything. We talked for 3 hours. By the time I left that coffee shop, I wasn't just fighting for my freedom anymore. I was fighting for the truth. And the truth was going to burn their world down. I went straight to Rebecca's office. Dropped the documents on her desk. I need to file a lawsuit. Against both of them. Rebecca scanned the papers. Her eyes widened. Susan. This is fraud. Kidnapping. Conspiracy. Falsified court documents. And 30 years of financial exploitation based on a lie. My voice was ice. Can we win? She looked up at me. Something like respect in her eyes. We can destroy them. Good. That night I drafted an email. Attached every bank record. Every receipt. Every piece of evidence showing what I'd given them. Then I attached Linda's documents. The subject line, the truth. I sent it to my parents, my sister, and every family member who'd ever called me selfish for setting boundaries. Within an hour my phone exploded. Mom. How dare you? Dad. You're dead too, US. Jennifer. You're insane. None of this is real. Aunt Carol. Susan, what is going on? Uncle Mike. Jesus Christ. Is this true? I responded to none of them. Instead I called Linda. They know. Good. Her voice was steady. Let them panic. Liars always do when the light hits them. What happens now? Now? We take them to court. We expose everything. And we make sure they never hurt anyone again. I hung up. Stared at my reflection in the window. For 30 years I've been Susan Patterson, the dutiful daughter, the invisible ATM, the family's reliable tragedy. But that Susan was built on lies. It was time to find out who I really was. And make them pay for every year they'd stolen. They didn't just take my money. They took my life. My real mother. My truth. Now I'm taking it all back. Comment justice if you think they deserve what's coming. The lawsuit was filed Monday morning. Susan Patterson and Linda Patterson versus Robert Patterson, Margaret Patterson and Jennifer Patterson. Charges: fraud, custodial interference, falsification of legal documents, defamation, and financial exploitation. Rebecca didn't hold back. The filing was 47 pages of documented evidence. Birth certificates, custody records, bank statements, emails between Robert and Margaret from 1995 discussing the arrangement. By noon it was public record. By 2 p.m. my phone started ringing. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Family friends. Even my high school guidance counselor. Everyone wanted to know, was it true? I answered none of them. Instead, I did something calculated. Something cold. I called my parents' mortgage company. Hi, I'm Susan Patterson. I've been making payments on account number 4478291 for the past 10 years. I'd like to request copies of all payment records and confirm ownership details. The representative hesitated. Ma'am, are you listed on the deed? No. But I've been paying the mortgage. Then technically, you have no legal claim to property information. I'm filing a lawsuit. The payments were made under fraudulent pretenses. I need documentation showing I've paid $156,000 toward a property I have no legal stake in. Silence. I'll have a supervisor call you back. They did. Within 20 minutes. Turned out mortgage companies don't like fraud, especially when it involves someone paying a loan they're not legally responsible for. They sent me everything. Every payment. Every late fee I'd covered. Every time my parents had tried to refinance using my payment history as proof of financial stability. I forwarded it all to Rebecca. Then I called the IRS. Because if I'd paid $280,000 to my parents over 10 years, and they'd never reported it as income, that was tax evasion. The woman on the phone was professional. Cold. We'll open an investigation. How long does that take? Depends on the complexity. But with this level of documentation, we move fast. I hung up. My parents wanted war? I just armed myself with the nuclear option. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. I deleted it. They didn't scare me anymore. I'd already survived the worst thing they could do. They'd stolen my childhood. Now I was taking their future. The IRS is involved. The mortgage company knows. Their whole empire is crumbling. Should I keep going? Or is this enough? Linda called me 3 days after the lawsuit was filed. Susan, there's something else. Something I didn't tell you at the coffee shop. My stomach dropped. What? The money. The $280,000 you gave them over the years. Her voice was tight. That wasn't random. They've been planning this since you turned 18. Planning what? To bleed you dry, then discard you. She paused. I got access to some old emails. Margaret's sister, your Aunt Ruth. She kept everything. She felt guilty about what they did and saved proof. Just in case. What proof? An email from Margaret to Robert. From 2005. Right before your 18th birthday. She read it aloud. Robert, we need to make sure Susan stays dependent on us emotionally. Keep her guilty. Remind her what we sacrificed to raise her. Once she starts earning real money, we position ourselves as struggling. She'll never say no, that's how we raised her. We drain what we can, then when she finally pushes back, we cut her off and play victim. We've already gotten the best years. Everything from here is profit. I couldn't breathe. They planned this? For 15 years, Susan. Every guilt trip. Every emergency. Every time they made you feel selfish for wanting boundaries, it was calculated. My hand shook so hard I nearly dropped the phone. There's more, Linda continued. Jennifer knew. There's a text thread from 2019. Margaret told her the plan. Told her to keep you isolated, keep you giving. Jennifer responded. Don't worry, Susan's too weak to ever fight back. Something inside me died. Not broke. Died. The people I'd loved my entire life had been running a con. And my sister had been in on it. Send me everything, I whispered. Already did. Check your email. I opened it. 53 pages of emails, texts, and documented conversations. Proof of a conspiracy that spanned decades. Proof that I was never their daughter. I was their mark. Rebecca called an hour later. Susan, with this new evidence, we're not just talking civil court anymore. This is criminal conspiracy. Fraud. Potentially racketeering. What does that mean? It means prison time. For all of them. I closed my eyes. Do it. They planned my entire life as a scam. 15 years of calculated abuse. Now they're facing prison. Was I right to go this far? Comment in No Mercy or stop below. Linda became my anchor. We met twice a week, coffee shops, parks, anywhere that felt safe. She told me stories about my childhood I'd never known. My first word. My favorite toy. The way I used to laugh. You were so happy, she said one afternoon, tears in her eyes. Before they took you. You had this light. I don't remember any of it. They made sure you wouldn't. She squeezed my hand. But you can get it back. Not the memories, but the light. You're fighting for it right now. For the first time in 30 years I felt seen. Not as a wallet. Not as a tool. As a person. But the doubts crept in late at night. What if I was wrong? What if this destroyed innocent people? What if? My therapist, Dr. Patel, stopped me mid-spiral. Susan, let me ask you something. If a stranger had done this to you, stolen your identity, exploited you financially, gaslit you for decades, would you hesitate? No. Then why do you hesitate now? Because they're family. They stopped being family the moment they commodified you. Her voice was firm. You're not attacking them. You're defending yourself. There's a difference. I wanted to believe her. Then Jennifer called. I don't know why I answered. Susan, please. Her voice was broken. Mom's falling apart. Dad won't leave his room. This lawsuit is killing them. They tried to have me arrested. They were scared. You cut them off without warning. After they called me pathetic and said nobody needed me. Silence. Jen, did you know? About Linda? About the plan. Her pause told me everything. Mom told me some things, but... Yes or no? Yes. I hung up, blocked her number, and felt nothing. Dr. Patel was right. They weren't family. They were strangers who'd worn my family's faces. Linda texted me that night. Proud of you. This is the hardest part. You're doing it anyway. That's courage. I stared at those words. For 30 years I'd been brave for other people. Now I was finally being brave for myself. My sister knew. She helped them. And I feel... nothing. Is that wrong? Comment if you've ever had to cut off someone you loved. The court date was set for 6 weeks out. I should have felt relieved. Empowered. Ready. Instead I felt hollow. Late one night I sat staring at old photo albums. Pictures of me and Jennifer as kids. Christmas mornings. Birthday parties. Her graduation where I'd been so proud. My finger hovered over her contact. Still blocked. I unblocked it. Typed out a message. I miss you. I miss who I thought you were. If you apologize, really apologize, maybe we can fix this. Maybe we don't have to go to court. Maybe we can be sisters again. My thumb hovered over send. Dr. Patel's voice echoed. Healing doesn't mean going back to people who hurt you. Linda's voice. They will never change. Only their tactics. But this was Jennifer. My sister. The person I protected my whole life. I pressed send. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then her response. You want to fix this? Drop the lawsuit. Admit you lied about Linda. Publicly apologize to mom and dad. Then maybe we'll consider forgiving you. My hand started shaking. Forgiving me? You're tearing this family apart. You're choosing a stranger over us. Over me. I defended you my whole life, and this is how you repay me. Something snapped. You defended me? You knew they weren't my real parents. You knew about the plan to drain me. You helped them. I was protecting them from you. You've always been selfish. Always made everything about you. Mom was right, you're pathetic. There it was. The word that started everything. Pathetic. I typed one final message. See you in court. Then I didn't just block her number. I deleted it entirely. Deleted every photo. Every text thread. Every trace of who she used to be to me. Because that person never existed. I'd been loving a ghost. And ghosts can't hurt you once you stop believing in them. But that night, alone in my apartment, I broke. Not because I doubted myself. But because grief doesn't ask permission. I mourned the sister I never really had. The family that was always a performance. The 30 years I'd spent loving people who saw me as profit margin. Linda found me at 2 a.m. still crying. I'd called her without thinking. She didn't say anything. Just held me. I almost went back, I whispered. I almost gave up everything just to feel like I belonged somewhere. I know, she said softly. That's what they count on. They bet on your love. Your loyalty. Your desperation to be wanted. What if I'm making a mistake? She pulled back, looked me in the eyes. The only mistake would be staying in a burning house because you're afraid of the cold. I almost gave up. Almost let them win. Have you ever been so close to breaking that you nearly surrendered to the people hurting you? Comment stay strong if you've been there. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. My parents sat across the aisle with Jennifer. They looked smaller too. Older. Margaret's hair had gone grayer. Robert wouldn't meet my eyes. Jennifer stared at me with pure hatred. I felt nothing. Linda sat beside me, her hand in mine. Rebecca shuffled papers, calm and lethal. The judge entered. Everyone stood. We're here for Patterson versus Patterson, the judge said. This is a preliminary hearing to review evidence before trial. Ms. Torres, you may present. Rebecca stood. Poised. Precise. Your Honor, the evidence shows a 30-year conspiracy to defraud my client of her identity, her biological mother, and approximately $280,000 in financial exploitation based on manufactured guilt. She presented the birth certificate, the custody documents, the emails planning my exploitation. Margaret's lawyer objected twice. The judge overruled both times. Then Rebecca dropped the final bomb. Your Honor, we also have evidence the defendants filed a false police report claiming Ms. Patterson stole from them, when in fact, every transaction was voluntary and documented. She showed the bank records, the mortgage payments, the emails where Margaret thanked me for my generous gifts. The judge's expression darkened. Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, did you file a police report against your daughter? He paused, glanced at the documents, or rather, the child you took custody of under allegedly fraudulent circumstances? Robert's lawyer whispered to him urgently. We were upset. We felt. Yes or no? Yes. Despite having no legal basis for the claim? Silence. The judge turned to Rebecca. I'm issuing a restraining order. The defendants are not to contact Ms. Patterson directly or indirectly. We'll proceed to full trial in 60 days, but I'm warning you. He looked directly at my parents. If half of this is proven true, you're looking at criminal charges. Margaret started crying. Jennifer stood up. This is insane. She's lying. Miss Patterson, the judge said sharply, sit down or I'll hold you in contempt. She sat. For the first time in my life, someone in power believed me. Not them. Me. We left the courthouse in silence. Outside, Linda hugged me tight. You did it. It's not over. No. But you won today. They didn't. As we walked to the car, I heard footsteps behind us. Susan. My father's voice. I turned. He stood 10 feet away looking broken. Please. Can we just talk? Without the lawyers. Linda tensed. Rebecca stepped forward. But I held up my hand. You have 1 minute. Robert's voice cracked. I know what we did was wrong. I know I can't fix it. But you have to understand, Margaret couldn't have kids. She was desperate. I loved her. I made a choice. You made a choice to steal me. I made a choice to give you a better life than Linda could. You made a choice to erase my mother and turn me into your retirement plan. My voice was ice. You didn't give me a better life. You gave yourself one. Using me. I'm sorry. No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. His face crumbled. What do you want from me? I looked at him, really looked at him. This man who I'd called Dad for 30 years. This stranger who'd built my entire existence on a lie. I want you to leave me alone. Forever. I turned and walked away. He called after me. Susan, please. I didn't look back. He asked what I wanted. I wanted my life back. The one he stole. Was I too harsh? Or not harsh enough? Drop your truth below. The trial took 3 months. In the end, the judge ruled in our favor on every count. Robert and Margaret were ordered to pay me $280,000 in restitution, plus damages for emotional distress, legal fees, and punitive damages totaling another $150,000. Jennifer was found complicit in the conspiracy. She faced no jail time, but the judgment stated clearly, she had knowingly participated in my exploitation. The IRS investigation resulted in $67,000 in back taxes and penalties. The false police report led to probation for both my parents. But the real verdict came in the judge's closing statement. This court has rarely seen such a calculated, long-term betrayal of trust. The defendants didn't just exploit Ms. Patterson financially. They stole her identity, her mother, and 30 years of truth. This was not a family dispute. This was organized fraud disguised as parental love. Margaret sobbed through the entire ruling. Robert stared at the floor. Jennifer walked out before it was finished. I felt nothing. No triumph. No satisfaction. Just tired. 6 months later, I moved to Portland. Small apartment. Big windows. An art studio in the corner where I painted every morning. Linda visited twice a month. We were building something new, not trying to reclaim what was stolen but creating what never existed. Do you regret it? She asked one afternoon watching me paint. The lawsuit. Everything. I thought about it. No. But I don't celebrate it either. I just exist now. Without them. That's healing. It doesn't feel like healing. It feels like amputation. Sometimes they're the same thing. I got a letter a few weeks later. From Jennifer. I almost threw it away. Instead, I opened it. Susan, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't forgive myself. You were right about everything. Mom and Dad did use you. And I helped because it was easier than admitting my whole childhood was built on someone else's suffering. I'm in therapy now. Learning about codependency and enablement and a dozen other words that basically mean I was a coward. Mom and Dad lost the house. They're renting a small place across town. They don't talk about you. They've rewritten history again. Now you're the villain who destroyed the family. I don't talk to them much anymore either. I'm not asking for anything. Just wanted you to know I see it now. I see what they did. What I did. I'm sorry I didn't see you sooner. Jen. I read it 3 times. Felt the old pull, the instinct to respond, to forgive, to rebuild. But I didn't. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. Not thrown away. Not answered. Just acknowledged. Maybe one day I'd respond. Maybe I wouldn't. For now it was enough to know she finally understood. I was at the farmer's market when I saw them. Robert and Margaret. Older. Smaller. Standing at a vegetable stand counting change. They didn't see me. I could have walked over. Could have said something. Instead, I watched them for a moment. 2 strangers who'd once controlled every aspect of my life. Now they were just people. Small. Powerless. Irrelevant. I turned and walked away. Not out of anger. Not out of fear. But because I finally could. That night Linda called. How are you doing? Really? I looked around my apartment. My space. My life. My choice. I'm okay, I said. And for the first time in 30 years I meant it. You sound different. I feel different. Lighter. That's what freedom sounds like. I smiled. Yeah, I guess it is. We talked for an hour about nothing important. Paint colors. Recipe ideas. A movie she wanted to see. Normal things. Things families talk about. After we hung up, I stood at my window watching the city lights. Thought about the girl I used to be. Desperate to be needed, terrified of being alone. Convinced her worth was measured in how much she could give. That girl was gone. In her place was someone I was still getting to know. Someone who said no without guilt. Someone who chose herself first. Someone who understood that the opposite of love isn't hate. It's boundaries. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This isn't over. You'll pay for what you did to this family. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I blocked the number, deleted the message, and went back to watching the city lights. They could threaten all they wanted. I'd already won. Not because I destroyed them, but because I finally saved myself. 3 weeks later a package arrived. No return address. Inside. A USB drive and a handwritten note. You think you know the whole truth? You don't. Play this. Then decide if you still want to be free of us. A friend. I held the USB drive in my hand. Every instinct screamed to throw it away. But curiosity, and the lingering need for answers, won. I plugged it into my laptop. A video file. Dated 1992. I clicked play. The screen filled with grainy footage of a courtroom. A younger Linda. Crying. Begging. And a judge. The same judge who'd ruled in my favor 6 months ago. Taking an envelope from Margaret's lawyer. My blood went cold. The conspiracy went deeper than I'd ever imagined. And now I had proof. Some truths are more dangerous than lies. I thought it was over. I was wrong. The conspiracy goes higher than I ever imagined. And the judge who saved me might be the one who destroyed my life first. Should I expose this? Or let it die? Comment, expose it all. Or walk away below. Part 2 only happens if this hits 50K likes. Don't let them bury the truth.